Where to start today? There's so many stories, so much happening. Looks like it's the beginning of a price war with Chinese vehicles, which is what I've been expecting for, well, years really. And to be honest, it's why I got out of the motor trade, because I could see it happening. We had a very, very bad spell at the end of last year when we had to compete with EVs, you know, the EVs going down, and basically having to follow EVs down with our ICE vehicles. Otherwise you wouldn't sell them, because, you know, ICE vehicles were the right price but looked too dear. EVs were actually too cheap if you kind of use some rationale about it. It's going to happen again. Chinese vehicles, Dave, let me just see if I can find this article. BYD's domestic sales dropped for the second consecutive week as the company announced temporary price cuts that can reach up to 34%. A third. I just checked a GWM or a Funky Cat before. The dealer auction was saying you could make £3,565 profit on them. And of course you go straight into Autotrader, you check with Autotrader price checker, and there's a car there being knocked down by £10,500 while the dealer's at it. So what do you think the chances are of him making £3,565? They are zero, and he's going to blow his brains out if and when he ever sells it. So sales fell 3.3% to 53,300 vehicles between May 19th and May the 25th. So it's May the 27th today. It's come up there, 27th of May 2025. I thought I'd only just seen it. Sales fell 3.3% to 53,300 vehicles between May 19th and May the 25th, according to data shared on Chinese social media this Tuesday. The figures mark the lowest weekly total since early April, a period typically impacted by the automotive industry's slow start to each quarter. If it's the same in China as it is in the UK, at the end of the quarter, all the sales managers, the first quarter, they've got to hit the targets for the new car franchises. They've got to hit the targets for the bosses, which is new and used. And that's when you get, when I was sales manager, I used to get monthly bonus January, February, March, but you'd get your quarterly bonus. Your quarterly bonus was well worth having. And then of course you get 4 quarterly bonuses. Then at the end of the year, if you've hit your monthly targets, your quarterly targets, your other finance targets, your flipping polish targets, all that crap, you get your yearly bonus, which makes up the majority of your wages. So you basically, you're firefighting all year. You've got to get your bonus. You've got to hit your January bonus. So you register a load of cars, you pre-register a load of cars. And people say, when I say about EV pre-registrations, they always say, oh, that's been going on forever. It has. Not on the scale that this is going on. You could never ever buy hundreds and hundreds of pre-registered delivery mileage vehicles that are 12 months old, 18 months old, 2 years old from the manufacturer. I've never known that. You could buy staff cars, and we used to make lots of money on staff cars. In fact, remind me to tell you about one specific incident when we were buying staff cars. I think they'll probably all be dead now anyway, so it won't matter. But so yes, April tends to be a little bit slower than March. Of course, in the UK as well, you've also got the new registration that comes out in March, so that's a big boost. Everybody wants the new registration. Joneses get up on the first, open the curtains. Frank, Elsie and Jack have only gone and bought a new car, haven't they? The China giant reached its best sales week of the year in the first full week of May, with nearly 68,000 vehicles sold, which dropped 19% to about 55,000 units in the following week. So here we go, China weekly registrations, BYD. Well, weekly, to me, weekly means nothing. You can't really, up and down. It can depend on the weather. It can depend on anything. It can depend on what's on telly. Sometimes whether the kids are off, you name it, whether there's a big football match on. It's all sorts. So the longer the period of time you've got, the better it is. Like for EVs, because EVs, when you look at them monthly, there's like a massive spike in December for some reason. December's the worst month of the year for registrations, but somehow these EV people, they love to treat themselves to a brand new EV on New Year's Eve. And to be honest, I'm thankful because, when you go out to a party on New Year's Eve, the boring EV people, they're picking their EV up. So you don't get stuck with them. I'm glad about that. So anyway, here we go. Between January 1st and May 25th, BYD registered about 1,076,200 vehicles in its home market. Registration data from last week revealed that its sub-brand Denza registered 2,700 units. China's MIIT latest catalogue, released on Friday, revealed that the brand will launch a 6-seat hybrid SUV, the N8L. The luxury EV maker Fangcheng Bao also listed 2,000. Is that the actual name? Fangcheng Bao. Also listed. What does that mean? Because that one the other day when I flipping checked it out, it means little rice. Excellent. It means equation leopard. Oh well. I suppose it's better than... No, it's not. It's not better than anything. It's crap. It's a stupid name. So, the luxury EV maker, Equation Leopard, also listed 2,700 vehicles. 2 weeks ago, images of the upcoming Thai 7 SUV have leaked on Chinese social media, revealing the mid-size to large SUV will feature boxy proportions similar to the Land Rover Defender. In response to that, and probably also in response to the trade tariffs, the Chinese probably thinking that it doesn't matter, they'll be able to cut the prices, and then when the legacy brands can't sell enough EVs to keep the EU happy and the ZEV mandate, they'll have to send them a load of money over to buy carbon credits. But that looks like that's failing too. So I'll have a look. I'll try and remember to have a look at that. There's so much, as I say, there's so much happening. It's just impossible. BYD sparks new price war in China, with discounts reaching up to £7,400. China's largest electric vehicle maker, BYD, announced on Saturday a temporary price cut of up to 35% across 22 models, sending its Hong Kong listed shares down nearly 9% on Monday. The stock had hit a record high of Hong Kong $477.8 last week after the automaker surpassed Tesla in European sales for the first time. The limited time discounts available until the end of the second quarter apply to models from BYD Dynasty and Ocean series, including the Seagull hatchback and Seal dual motor hybrid sedan. Price reductions reach as high as 53,000 yuan, $7,360. The Seagull, which launched across 15 European markets last week, including Germany and Italy, saw its domestic price cut by 20%. So it launched last week, cut by 20% to 55,800 yuan in Europe. The model targeting urban roads is known as Dolphin Surf. The Seal dual motor variant dropped 34% to 102,800 yuan. The aggressive pricing campaign triggered a broader sell-off in Chinese EV stocks. Shares of Li Auto, NIO, Xpeng each fell between 3 and 4.5% in Hong Kong on Monday. I mean, they've only listed 3 there, haven't they? And they've listed 2 prices. So why not go the whole hog and tell us how much the middle one fell? Or, you know, anyway, whatever, on Monday. BYD's direct competitors have started to respond. Stellantis-backed startup Leap Motor cut prices by 28% and 30% on entry-level versions of its C16 and C11 extended range SUVs respectively. SAIC's premium EV brand IM Motors said it would offer an 18% discount on its LS6 e-SUV for a limited time. The company delivered 380,089 vehicles globally in April, of which 51.5% were fully electric, the first time its EV sales surpassed hybrids. Overseas sales hit a monthly record of more than 78,000 units in April, meaning 1 in 5 vehicles delivered last month was an export. Year to date, overseas deliveries account for 28.5% of the total. BYD has set a 2025 sales target of 5.5 million vehicles, including 800,000 exports. With over 1 million units sold globally between January and April, the company has already completed a quarter of its annual goal. Now, I read somewhere the other day that BYD have got 900,000 employees. But also, what I'd like to... You see, all this news about BYD's, the shares dropping and car sales going down. What do you think happens in the UK? You've been watching my videos. What do you think happens in the UK when this happens in China? Spin. Spin happens. Let me just go to... Oh look, car dealer. What date's this? 8 AM on the May the 27th. So here we go. BYD, that's in car dealer's thumbnail. And I'll show you some more in a minute. BYD. BYD leads surge in interest in Chinese brands from UK car buyers by Autotrader. BYD leads surge in interest in Chinese brands from UK car buyers. What about the other cars? Do you know what? Korean, Japanese, German, Italian, Swedish, Holden, not that there's many Holdens here, Australian, cars from the UK? No. Chinese cars, specifically BYD. Again, interest in Chinese EVs from UK car buyers soars. It soars. Autotrader says more than 1.4 million ad views in the first 4 months of this year were for Chinese brands. Right, 1.4 million. So how many for BYD? Now, didn't BYD sponsor the World Cup? And didn't they get less views than one of my videos? This is not right. All this fluffing is not right. There is something wrong. Why just Chinese vehicles? You know, Germans, Volkswagen cars. There's a new Opel Manta coming out. I'll tell you what, I've got a good mind to get my name down on it. It's an EV and it looks good. There's the Renault 5, lovely. The Hyundai Insta, lovely too. There's the Twingo coming out, nice little EV. Small EVs, BYD. And on Car Dealer here, I think it's averaging about every 10 stories or less, there's one that mentions BYD. So here we go, 1.4 million ad views in the first 4 months. Let's see, ChatGPT. There's a surprise, isn't there? So in 2024, I'm assuming this is correct, it may not be, but don't shoot me if it's not. So in 2024, Autotrader UK experienced significant user engagement across its platform, while specific total ad view figures for the year aren't publicly disclosed. I wonder why that is, because they keep giving you all these advert views on Chinese ones and how many percent they go up. And the reason that they do that is because if you had the total figures, you'd be able to work out. I'm telling you. So here we go. We'll just go off this, just one. SUV listings. SUVs became the most viewed body type on Autotrader, garnering 700 million views in 2024. surpassing hatchbacks, which were previously the most popular. Car colour preferences. Black cars were the most viewed colour, with over 600 million views, followed by grey with 467 million views. Popular models. The Volkswagen Golf was the most viewed used car, accumulating 64 million views. 64 million views. A used car, 64 million views. But just SUVs, 708 million views. Just SUVs. Autotrader says more than 1.4 million ad viewed. James at Car Dealer, get your act together. Autotrader says more than 1.4 million ad viewed in the first 4 months of this year were for Chinese brands. So in 4 months, 4.2 million if you take it over the year. So in the whole year, 4.2 million, whereas SUVs got... That's not a headline, is it? It's not a headline that should be in the paper. It's not a headline that should be leading in a trade-to-trade, motor trade, UK motor trade magazine. It's not a headline that should be given out by a UK-based advertising platform which covers everybody. But not only that, this advertising platform is paid for by dealers who pay them to advertise all their stock, not BYD's, all of it. Why are they getting involved in shit like this? Research shows motorists are starting to be won over by China's affordable battery technology. Who's asking the question about that? The affordable battery technology that keeps bursting into flames. What about the affordable autopilot that keeps crashing into bridges or other cars? Are they being won over by that? When they crash into something and they've got all the kids, wife there and kids here, and they crash into something and it bursts into flames, as they're all being frazzled, you say, but, well, the advert was good. You know, sorry, but the advert was fantastic. I looked at it on Autotrader. Interesting, Chinese car brands has gone through the roof among UK car buyers. Gone through the roof at 1.4 million for all of them. SUVs. As the likes, not as Chinese cars make the mark, as the likes of BYD continue to make their mark. That is according to new data from Autotrader, which found that more than 1.4 million adverts viewed in the first 4 months of this year were for vehicles made by Chinese manufacturers. How many were viewed, German ones? How many Italian ones? How many Korean ones? How many Japanese ones? How many UK ones? Why Chinese? Brands from the country took a 5.3% share of all ad views up until the end of April. Well up from the same period last year, when the figure stood at just 1.3%. Let me see can I just work this out? If 5.3% is 1/4, what is 100%? So 1.4 million views. That's all of them, all the Chinese models, and look how many Chinese models there are now, and all the publicity they're getting. Of 26,415,094. That's just in 4 months, isn't it? Let's go back. Well up from the same period last year, when the figure stood at just 1.3% before Autotrader and all the UK motor trade press started plugging them at every opportunity. Now, listen to this. Autotrader also said the stocks of Chinese EVs listed for sale on its site between January and April was more than 10 times higher than a year ago, exceeding 3,300 units. So that's over 4 months. Have they moved? Have they sold any? Because when you just go to Autotrader, 453,565 cars listed at any one time. And all those will be changing, and there'll be more coming on every day, be changing. But in 4 months, there's only been 3,300. And you know what? I'd like to see how many there are now. Because when you go to BYD, there's 532 now, today. GWM 60, Genesis 69, Leap Motor 116. MG, are they counting them as Chinese motors? There's 1,534 of those. A Moda 156, Polestar 732. Are they counting those? Skywell 28, Xpeng 6. You know, again, 3,300. How many have they sold? That's what we want to know. We don't want to know how many have been listed. We want to know how many they've sold. Listed for sale on its site between January and April was more than 10 times higher than a year ago, exceeding 3,300 units. So considering they've still got all those others that I've just mentioned left, it doesn't look like they've sold that many, does it? BYD accounts for around half of the interest and stock when it comes to Chinese cars, with the brand recently outlining ambitious goals to be the UK's #1 car brand within 3 years. If that happens, I'll show my arse in Burton's window. Fortunately, I'm 67 tomorrow, so by that time, I might have dropped off my perch, because it's not getting any better looking, if I'm honest. As part of its rapid growth, the firm is aiming to have UK 120 dealers by end of the year. Having recently opened new sites with a number of retail partners, bosses are hoping that domination in the UK. Now that's a nice word, isn't it? Domination. Do you think that's translation? I don't like that word. I have to be honest. I think that's got no place in this this piece of shite article. Bosses are hoping that domination in the UK will be just a start, with the brand firmly setting its sights on being the world's #1 car maker over the coming year. I think they're going to have to start getting a different designer, because they are just the ugliest cars I've ever seen. Autotrader said that motorists are beginning to be won over by the Chinese's affordable battery technology, with recent research showing that drivers have less brand loyalty when it comes to EVs than for petrol or diesel cars. Because, to be honest, there's nothing to choose between them, is there? They all look the same. They're not nice to drive. What is it about them? You know when you go to see a fridge and you're there, you're looking at fridges and you're with your missus and you go, please just pick one. Pick one, we'll have it delivered. EVs, they all look the same. Right, here we go. Ian Plummer, commercial director at Autotrader, told the PA news agency, "Our research shows a breakthrough for Chinese manufacturers in the UK market over the last 12 months. Why are you researching it? What for? If I went through all this research, I am pretty sure that the last thing I would pick out is that Chinese vehicles have had 3,300 listed on Autotrader. 3,300. 708 million views." Ian Plummer, commercial director at Autotrader, told the PA news agency, "Our research shows a breakthrough for Chinese manufacturers in the UK market over the last 12 months. Several brands are now motoring from a standing start, and bigger names like BYD have embedded themselves in the public consciousness. They've embedded themselves in salesmen's consciousness because they're not selling, because they're all stuck. They've still got a load of the demo cars. Chinese electric vehicles are cutting-edge products backed by affordable battery technology. Trade turbulence with the US and EU tariffs is also making the UK relatively more attractive as a market. No, I don't think the other markets will put up with this shit. And I don't think they've got somebody championing the case like the UK are at the moment. There will be much more to come from Chinese car makers. Please find articles written about BYD EVs and mentioning Ian Plummer or Autotrader. Chinese entrants step up charge into UK's electric vehicle market. Affordable Chinese EVs win over younger UK drivers. Autotrader. BYD leads surge in interest in Chinese brands from UK car buyers. New car commentary, April 2024 at Autotrader. Ian Plummer comments on the increasing popularity of BYD Seal models. BYD strives to woo Europe drivers wary of EVs. It's all too much for me, I'm afraid. It's, you know, where they smoke these an EV. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.